Coming up on today's show, I sit down with Nelio Costa from Coastal Championship Wrestling. We talk about a ton of upcoming shows, including an appearance by King Mo, a new Cruiserweight Champion, an upcoming career versus title opportunity match, and more on this episode of the Daily Wrestling News Show. This is the Daily Wrestling News for April 19th, 2021, and we are powered by the Eastern Observer. My name is Ryan Joy, and I'm coming to you live from Minutes to Bell Time Studio on the beautiful, stormy Treasure Coast of the Sunshine State, and I am joined, as mentioned, by Nelio Cuomo Costa. Good morning, sir.
How are you? Good morning. It's stormy up in the Treasure Coast. It's beautiful down here in Fort Lauderdale in the CCW studios, but I'm sure it's going to get rainy later.
Yeah, I was a little worried, and I think I need to tell you up front, if the power goes out or something, you'll have to close the show.
No problem. We'll talk about what's coming up on Monday Night Raw. I'll pull it up. We'll talk about all those releases on WWE. So if the power goes out, we're going to talk about how crazy it is to release those guys, specifically Billy Kay. But go ahead, Ryan. Continue.
Yeah, no worries. Listen, what are you drinking there? You got your caffeine ready to go?
My coffee with a little keto powder in it so that I can stay ultra regular, I guess. It's just a bunch of magnesium. It's wonderful, though. It keeps me in ketosis while I'm on trying to do this ketosis thing.
All right. I'll just drink my water over here.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's start with King Mo.
Actually, I want to start. It was great to see you over WrestleMania weekend. Saw you a couple times. It was badass. Great to see you. You were front and center at the collective, which was awesome. We were in and out of the collective. I was in and out of consciousness at the collective, but I thought that was a great show. The outside Mania shows, and I have to give it to you as a trooper. You were there from 11 a.m. till midnight.
Oh my God, I have a Cha-Cha Charlie hat right here. I just had no idea when we arrived at the collective. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it would be indoors. And we arrive and it's outdoors.
Yeah.
And it's like a black top, concrete.
Yep.
And a beautiful day, 90 degrees every day. And I was not prepared. I should have had that Cha-Cha Charlie hat on the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Burnt to a crisp. But some good wrestling there. Some really
it was amazing, and it was some great contacts. Some of the things that I thought was amazing was Too Cold Scorpio can still wrestle. He's so amazing. I saw him against Low-Key as well, but obviously at the Culture Show he was awesome and it was wonderful. Yeah,
some scorching days there.
Let's talk about King Mo though, man. One of the baddest men in the business, rising champion. Fought for Bellator. He's the man. King Mo is, of course, King Mo is the man, and just training with the guy is just something that is out of this world. He's it's one of those things, his body is made to hurt people. He's a machine. He's a killing machine. And it's just awesome to see, and we're happy to have him in Coastal Championship Wrestling. We've been happy to have him training there. Now happen to have him ready to go and to wrestle for us has just been a pleasure. Of course, we found a great opponent for him. We found him at Bloodsport, basically. Hadi Kadoui, who is a shooter, was the French national catch wrestling champion. He is a wonderful, wonderful guy, and we've been training with him. And so my shoulder has been dislocated and my kidneys feel ruptured because I've been training with real deal fighters. But I think that's a good place to go because I love mixed martial arts. I love strong style, and I think that's the way to go. I love Bloodsport. I know that you can't have it 20 times a year, but I'd like to have as many of these mixed martial artists and these real shoot fighters come into Coastal Championship Wrestling because I love to watch it. So hopefully our fan base will love to do the same. Only in America, Ryan, only in America can you have a catch wrestling champion. And then obviously Mo is an elite wrestler. He's one of the best wrestlers, amateur wrestlers in the world. And then, that comes to his style, but he's also a phenomenal striker. So we're going to see an interesting fight on the 24th at CCW Unleashed.
Yeah, and I think
backyard, Ryan.
What's that?
Right in your backyard in the Treasure Coast.
I know, right here. It's right across I just hit the Crosstown Parkway over, and I'll be there.
People are mad because we're having such great cards in Port St. Lucie. I'm also going to announce a bunch of new shows in Port St. Lucie. We made a deal with the Mid Florida Event Center, which I hope you like the venue. I love the venue.
Great venue.
So I think we've signed up for 9 venues. So nine shows up into 2022 there. So expect some awesome stuff. My fan base down in Lauderdale is pissed, but they're getting Brian Cage in about a month and a half, so they shouldn't be as pissed. But I'll announce another Brian Cage date in Port St. Lucie coming up. I don't want to announce too many things, but
that I mean the South Florida crew, like the far South Florida crew, is getting very good shows. So
yes, I mean if they go to Bash at the Brew, and then of course the breakout shows are going to be great. That's literally in Fort Lauderdale. That's where all these people are. It's funny too because we were running in Coral Springs once every couple months. We'd have a crowd of like 700-800 people, and I've just realized, this was pre-COVID, I just realized that a lot of those people like don't even come to the extreme shows because they don't want to leave Coral Springs. So we have to get back to Coral Springs when when COVID is better, or find a new venue, because we're running in a school that's not, they're not renting until like end of this year or beginning of next year, which we'll do. But it's funny because there's a huge fan base that will not travel to Port St. Lucie. They won't even travel to Fort Lauderdale. So it's really funny. Like, we want to get to those guys too. They're just busy watching live wrestling and still being great fans, buying merch and all that good stuff. But they're not going to go see Mo and Eddie, and they're not going to go see Santos and Alex Ocean because it's too far, which is crazy for me. But
that's right.
You go to Bash at the Brew, you drive what? It's 2 hours at least to get down to Hialeah.
Yeah, it's 2 hours down, and it's a great show though. So you go
exactly. It's worth it.
But back to that King Mo and Hetty match. Hetty was originally trained by Josh Barnett, if I have my facts straight. So he was on the Bloodsport show. He was trained by Josh Barnett. So you have two guys that are really like legitimate.
Yeah. So Eddie was found by Josh Barnett at a catch wrestling national qualifier or something like that, and he said, "You need to become a professional wrestler." And then Josh Barnett's like, wait a couple months or whatever. And Eddie was like, "Okay, no problem." And then he's like, "We got to go to Japan." So they go to Japan, and then he introduces Hetty to Antonio Inoki.
Wow.
Unbeknownst to Josh Barnett, I mean, Eddie knew who Antonio Inoki was. Like, Eddie was a professional wrestling fan. He doesn't sell it very much, but he's a huge mark. I shouldn't say that, but he is. And so he loves professional wrestling. He's always loved professional. So he's like, this is Antonio Inoki, and then training there, and then now training lucha style in Mexico with Forza Guerrero and CMLL, and he's done CMLL, AAA. He's done everything. And now coming to the U.S., for Bloodsport, Josh Barnett, this was ago, he was training with Eddie, brought him in to do Bloodsport because he knows he's such a killer. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm going to bring in a guy who's a real killer. So I love that. And I love that too, the legitimacy of it. Josh Barnett, Antonio Inoki, all those names, Forza Guerrero, all those names that he works with is just wonderful. And of course, it's funny because now, he's been training at the school. We're posting pictures, and guys like Ricky Marvin, like OT Fernandez, like huge Taylor Wolf in Chile, like they all know the guy and fear the guy and have worked with the guy. So it's like, when Ricky Marvin saying, "Hey, good luck," because he's about to beat everyone up in your dojo. It's a good thing. It's a good thing and a bad thing because he's beating everybody up. But it's a good thing because, man, what everyone's learning at CCW over the last couple of weeks has just been phenomenal. Adding on King Mo and Low Key and the other guys too that are bringing in a lot of knowledge and experience. It's a cool little way to go. I like it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with King Mo specifically is I think a lot of people have probably seen him in his MMA background. He hasn't had a whole lot of like nationally broadcast wrestling matches. With MLW, he's had a few quick matches, with Low Key, but otherwise, I think he's kind of a hidden treasure in pro wrestling.
Yeah, and he is. He's the same thing. It's just this legit. Like there's a thing about like having a legit badass MMA fighter who can really beat you. It's something about it. He's had his moments with Kurt Angle. He's had his moments with, obviously in Major League Wrestling and that type of stuff. But I still think there's a lot of stuff that can be shown and that he can do that I think people are going to be excited to see. And whether that's, hopefully they see it live because there's an experience of the live show of CCW that's amazing. But to see him on a live wrestling will be another, just another way to bring up everything that we're doing here at CCW. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. So we go there, and from King Mo, let's talk about the cruiserweight tournament that just concluded. And you have a new cruiserweight champion, a new champion in the fold, Chris Farrow.
Yes, I love Chris Farrow. I've loved Chris Farrow since I met Chris Farrow. As soon as I saw him come in to train, he had this afro and he just had this little mentality, like this is a really funny mentality. I knew that he would get over, and he's over. And you don't even have to know who he is. We did a show at a church in the Glades not too long ago, maybe a month ago, and I was cracking up because they announced him, hey, coming in from Broward County, and he jumps out there, and nobody knew who he was, and the place was just going nuts, and he just has this contagious attitude, that big smile, and he's great. He's great in the ring, so he's perfect for the first cruiserweight champion. Homegrown. Like obviously there are other amazing talents in our cruiserweight division. Like someone like Sebastian Cage comes into mind. Montoya, who was just on All Elite Wrestling. I'm trying to think of other people. There's a ton of great cruiserweights. I mean, that whole cruiserweight tournament we saw. There's a guy CMS out of Orlando. There's a 64. We saw 64 guys cruiserweights, and there were plenty of awesome ones. And I'm very glad Chris Farrow pulled it out because he's great. He's hilarious. Like I said, he's homegrown, and he's got a good future ahead of him. And he was a famous skateboard guy. I kind of didn't realize that. I'm just kind of seeing it now. Like he has like a big following on these like skate videos. Obviously, I knew he was a skater. We used to call him Skater Chris. And then I'm finding out now that he's got like a huge following of skateboard people who are like, you're a pro wrestler, you're a cruiserweight champion. And I'm like, wait, you were kind of famous before you were a wrestler? And that just shows, CCW is a weird place. Like we have guys like Ariel Levy came in and started training without telling anybody that he was an international superstar. So we have things like that happen. So it's like Chris Farrow came and trained, busted his butt, and then basically we found out that he's a pretty well-known skateboarder. Did sponsored skate videos and all that stuff. It's really funny. But he's perfect. He's got a great attitude. He's hilarious. And he works his ass off, not just in the ring, but outside the ring. He works overnight shifts at a gym, and then he works another job, and then he comes and trains, and then he skateboards. So I don't know when the guy sleeps.
So on the cruiserweight division, do you have a cutoff? Is it, in WWE, it's
199 pounds.
Okay.
It's 199 pounds because, a guy who's 203, 202, sometimes they can be a little too big. So we cut it off at 199. I don't like the 2 in front of the cruiserweight division. So it's 199. And we saw Mr. C, who weighed in. You'll see that later in the live. He weighed in he was over 200 pounds. He did a couple of things to get underneath it. He weighed in at about 199, but then he showed up in the semifinals and easily over 211 pounds. So we're going to have to maybe change because had he won, he wouldn't have been able to defend it. We're going to have to change the rules in terms of the tournament. But yeah, both competitors do need to weigh in, and we do weigh them in. There was a couple of guys who said they were under 200 and they came in at like 204, 205. We had to disqualify them in the tournament. This is a shoot. You have to be under 200 pounds. And a guy like Farrow's couldn't stay under 200 pounds. We have Logan Taylor, who was just trained at the Nightmare Factory by QT Marshall and Cody. He's down now. He makes his second CCW match on Friday at Breakout. And he was like, man, I want to do this cruiserweight division. He was 211 pounds. I said, brother, it's a shoot. And he literally, for the last 2 months that I've known him, has lost about 15 pounds. He's down to one. He sends me on the scale. Yeah, I'm down to 203. I said, okay, you're almost ready to go. So he's excited. I think he's below now 199, so he can do it. But it's funny that it's a shoot, guys. You got to be under 200 pounds.
Now he's got Miami Mike on Friday, right?
He does. He has Miami Mike on Friday, and he's so excited about it. And we know that his trainers are going to be watching and stuff like that. It's going to be really cool. That he was sent down from the Nightmare Factory. He's not going to be the only Nightmare Factory graduate performing in CCW. I have some things in the works. And we're hoping to get QT down, actually, but we have a good relation with some of the ancillary Nightmare Factory coaches and trainers. Obviously, Glacier has been a CCW mainstay for a long time, so we expect to have more Nightmare Factory graduates come down and maybe put together something for them. Because if you're trained by Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall, you have a pretty good boost into the wrestling business. We want you around as well.
Absolutely. Good network there and everything. Yeah.
Well, like Cameron, like CMS is, I think he was trained by Matt Seidel or Tyler Breeze or something like that. So it's like you want to have those guys who are there, you know. Oh, we also have making their CCW debut on Saturday, Jake Tucker, who is training with Natalia Neidhart and Tyson Kidd.
Oh, wow.
And now with the WWE like opening up the NXT Evolve division, I mean, it's so crazy. Like you want to use these guys as much as possible before scooped up into that system, like a guy like Jake Tucker, CMS. Who else is a perfect guy to get scooped up by that? I pray every day that they don't call Ariel for the NXT Evolve thing. he's actually he should be the NXT Evolve champion. He's so polished, so good, and he's an international superstar. So you know him and who else? That's a bunch. I mean, I can have of my guys who'd be perfect for it, but hopefully Gabe Sapolsky doesn't know who they are.
Well, I wish them success, but
I'm just kidding. No, I would be so happy. Like Jake St. Patrick would be perfect for it, but obviously he's doing what he's doing in All Elite Wrestling. Yeah, all of those guys would be. There's a bunch of guys like Ariel is so ready for the television. He's so ready for all that. So that's a no brainer. But yeah, like a guy like great. He hasn't wrestled for us. I haven't really seen his work. But if Tyson Kidd and Natalia Neidhart are saying good things about him, then can't be that bad,
right? So some more things on Friday. I talked about it in the opening too, is the potential retirement match.
Yeah. That all happened in real time. Larry Lane was supposed to wrestle Cha-Cha Charlie at the Cruiserweight Invitational. It was going to be the opening match. He was just not 100%. And he said, I'm not feeling 100%. I don't know if I can do this or whatever. He said, I can wrestle, you know. So he did wrestle that night. And
before he went on the air, right?
Yeah, he did a pre-show match. And then we're going to see later today or tomorrow on a live, he got a promo that was literally real time. It was real time with me because he turned to me and he's like, you're not going to be using me in any world championship situations. You know, you're not going to be using me as a featured guy. And I was like, oh, don't say that, Larry. I love you. You know, like I love Larry. I love his stories. You know, guy's been there 30 plus years. He's taught me plenty of stuff. He's always great to have around. He's like, no, I'm just being realistic. You know, he's like, I'm not like, not going to be a featured guy, you know? So, what I'd like to do is, I'd like a title match and I would like to beat Cha-Cha Charlie to get that title match. And I said, okay, I mean, you were supposed to wrestle Cha-Cha tonight, but he's like, no. He's like, I want to put a stipulation. The next time I lose a match in CCW, I'd like to retire. And I'd like to start with Cha-Cha Charlie. And I'd like, if I win that match, to get a CCW Heavyweight Championship match. I said, done. I said, consider it done, Larry. I don't know. I mean, you know, he's not the youngest guy in the world, obviously, you know, but he's been around and he's so great. And, you know, like hopefully, you know, this will be, obviously it'll be a great match. You know, I know Larry's training hard for it, but Cha-Cha Charlie is a very difficult opponent. You know, he's not the easiest guy to beat. So we're going to see on Friday whether it's going to be Larry Lane's 30-year plus career might end, or if Larry Lane continues and he goes on to a title shot. You know, Larry Lane was, I think, a second opponent in the WWF. He got put. Remember when Undertaker came out? He was putting people in body bags.
Yes. Yeah.
It's funny because I used to be. I think I wasn't watching exactly then, but I remember finding out about this. You know, the squash matches with the body bags, like like in '94 or something, '93. I was pretty young, but like I remember that terrified me to think of. Like the guy lost a match and then got put in a body bag and stuff like that. Even as a kid, it was crazy. Yeah, and Larry, imagine being Larry in the body bag. Yeah, you know, and it was insane. So you know, he's had a huge long career, and I wish. Sometimes I'm stupid because Larry Lane tells the funniest stories. I don't know if we can put them online, but I think of myself, the funniest thing would be to have Larry Lane just talk about the most ridiculous things that used to happen in professional wrestling for him. You know, he's a guy to have backstage anywhere. He's so funny. He's so he's just really, really funny. I don't know how to explain. Like, he's got the funniest stories from 20 years ago when professional wrestling was this outlaw business. You know, it still is, but it was even more so this outlaw business back then. So I feel sad if he's not around, you know. let alone retiring. But he's got a lot to give and a lot to teach. So hopefully he'll, if Friday's his last match, or if Saturday is his last match, or if whatever happens, even if it's let's say it's in the next couple months or his final matches, it's going to be interesting.
So Cha-Cha has a title match on Saturday. So if Larry beats Cha-Cha,
no. So originally I was going to put Larry in the 3-way if he can beat Cha-Cha on Friday. That was my original idea, but I don't think that's fair to the 3-way because there's so much tied into that 3-way. There's you have Cha-Cha and Santos, who Cha-Cha lost to Santos with some issues with Agony. You have Agony, who wants the belt back from Santos because he was pile driven by Vinicius when the front sit out pile driver to lose the belt in the first place. This is a huge match with so many implications, so many storyline implications, that to put Larry in that match. So Cha-Cha will still have that match if he loses Friday. But Larry Lane will get an opportunity at the winner if he beats Cha-Cha on Friday.
Okay. So breakout. Look, I even have the poster here so people can see breakout. There's the breakout. Let me pull that down for a second. So it's 8:00 at the CCW Arena.
7:30. We're gonna start at 7:30 because this card got so stacked. But normally it's gonna be 8:00. Like May 22nd, we'll start at 8:00. This one starts at 7:30 because it's a stacked card.
Yeah, and the other match is Vic Arson versus the Bus.
Yeah, that's a match that's a match I always want to see. So it's we'll throw it on breakout.
There you go. And more title matches, right? So we talked about Cruiserweight Championship, but there's also Jackal versus Nick Turner.
Yeah, Nick Turner is awesome. He's a shooter. He's a black belt and a trainer in jiu-jitsu, which is great. Which I love guys who can actually fight. And then on top of that, he's there 4 days a week, busting his ass, and he's in good shape. And he's like the up and comer of all up and comers. He can have a good match. He just started. He's so new, but he can have a good match. And he's a student of the game. He had a match with Vinicius and Ariel Levy at a couple title. He went for the tag team title, and both backstage he was talking through everything that happened, and he was just a student of the game. Sometimes you go to the back and guys are just like, that was awesome. The crowd loved everything. I'm the greatest wrestler of all time. It's not the attitude to have. The attitude to have is you got to say that for a second. If you're in professional wrestling, you got to think you're the best. So you do have to for 1 second be like, yeah, that was great, and I'm the greatest of all time and whatnot. But then you have to stop yourself and think okay, what went wrong there? What can we improve? What happened? And he's that type of guy, incredibly analytical. So it's the perfect match to have with the Jackal. Jackal just had a title defense against Salazar. He just won it back from Bugs Moran at anniversary 17. So he had probably the best Southeastern Championship title run of anyone ever before he lost it to Bugs. So he's got a lot to live up to on the second title reign.
So you brought that up, and I didn't write it down, but I was thinking about it over the weekend that I needed to ask you about Bugs Moran. We haven't seen him in a while, and
yeah, he was incredibly embarrassed to lose his hair. He lost the Southeastern Championship. I hope Bugs will be back. The man behind Bugs Moran has military aspirations. So will he be back? Yes, but I don't know when, and what the situation is, but I'd love to have Bugsy back. I had some ideas about Bugs too, but I think he will be a credit to the American military system as well.
Sure.
I think the U.S. always needs good guys like that, and he's still young and he still has a lot left to give, so he can go and do some time for his country, and then he'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got the haircut for it, so he's all set.
I think they still. I mean, Beefcake left him with too much hair. I think he's gonna have to get more off. When
That's right.
There's an army barber somewhere who's looking at it, knock it off. Who's gonna finish the job Beefcake couldn't do on March 20th.
Oh, well, I guess I'm kind of going all over the place, but the 17th anniversary show looked to be a huge success as well. I mean,
it was full. It was entirely. I mean, it was. The fans loved it. It was a full thing, and I have to say, like, obviously, I want to be always the guy who's just like everything was the best and stuff. But like I learned a lesson too, where you give too much, the crowd was exhausted. And then we're setting up a cage for 20 minutes after the hair match and stuff. And like, there were moments where I was just like, man, like this was a lot. So I think like, yes, I have this vision of like, it's our WrestleMania, but you have to remember like one of the big problems of WrestleMania is the fans are just completely blown out after 2 hours. So we had one of the best ladder matches. That girls ladder match was so good, and the crowd was like at their peak at that point, and we should have given them maybe one more match, but we gave them two. We gave them the hair versus hair match. We watched them get their hair cut off, and then we had the cage match that takes 20 minutes to set up a cage. So were there some logistical things that I would have done better? Now match wise, that cage match was awesome. The hair match was great. That ladder match was match of the night. You have the headbangers there. That was awesome. You had a 3-way with the Sandman, which was awesome. But fans can only take so much. We gave them 6 months of main event matches in one night. So I felt like it just blew everybody's pleasure centers out. You know what I mean? It's like, how much can you like, but that being said, if
anniversary show's too big for one night.
Exactly. Oh yeah. See, there we go. No, so in the future I have some ideas to mitigate that, but hopefully we'll be on a what is the word? We'll be on some different platforms by March of 2022 for CCW Anniversary 18, barely legal. It's going to be awesome. So I already have some ideas on how that's going to look and in what way that's going to do, but hopefully we'll be on a platform that can spread out some of the craziness that I expect to have.
Sure. Yeah. So, and going back to Breakout, let's see. So Alex Ocean versus Santos, right?
This is a match that I'm surprised this has never happened. They train together. They've known each other for a long time. You're going to see an amazing video package on a live wrestling. I'll probably drop it before a live wrestling because it's so good. I have so much awesome stuff on a live wrestling this week that I'd like to probably spread it out because it's very story heavy, story driven. We're also going to get Ariel Levy versus Super Crazy, and we're also going to get this insane 3-way match between Beastman, Agony, and Vince Steele that was just wacky. What a character Beastman is. But to go back to Alex and Santos, if this was a hardcore match, you would have to say Alex Ocean gets the nod in terms of if he's going to win or not. I mean, if this is a hardcore match, but the fact that it's going to be in the ring and it's a breakout and it's in the ring and it's a regular match, Santos is so good. So there's a lot of stuff, hinging on that, including the 3-way the next day. So, obviously if Alex Ocean defeats Santos, it will not be Santos in that 3-way. It will be Alex Ocean, which is an interesting one because you have Agony and you have Cha-Cha Charlie. Alex Ocean hates Cha-Cha Charlie as a human being. He hates his gimmick. He hates the dancing. Like it embarrasses him. So there's a natural feud there that it's just, trust me, very natural feud between those gentlemen. And then obviously you have Agony, who is, Alex Ocean's best friend in life. So that would be a very interesting match to say the least.
Yeah, that'll really shake things up for Unleashed.
and if Alex Ocean defeats Santos, I have an insane opponent on deck for Santos on Saturday. I'm just saying, one awesome opponent.
Okay. So then Unleashed. So I think that covers up all the matches you've announced for Breakout, right?
Chris Farrell and Stefan Rivera for the Cruiserweight Championship. Yeah, that's everything. Miami Mike against the Nightmare Factory guy. Yep. And it's going to be fun. What else?
Yeah, that'll be great. And that's
Agony. Agony has an open challenge. Agony has an open challenge that he's, and I don't know, maybe Vinicius will answer it. I would hope so, but probably not. Don't quote me on that. That match would be awesome. But Agony has an open challenge as well. So that covers
it. So Agony goes into the next night and he's got a title match. He's going through some therapy with Eric Christopher, right? So,
yes.
So who knows what can happen there? But
exactly,
we have that triple threat match. We have King Mo versus Hetty, which we've talked about. Also, assuming Jackal gets through at Breakout, he's got Juice James.
Yes, Juice James won the Battle Royal at Anniversary 17, which got him a future Southeastern Championship match, and this is his hometown, so this should be in front of his hometown fans. He wants to pull one out from Jackal as well, or Nick Turner.
Right, one of the two. And then, so I was asking you before we went on the air though about Johnny Walker at that. I think he got that Port St. Lucie crowd going there right before the
he got them going and he got them to a fever pitch, and then he proceeded to break 3 of his ribs in the ring and almost die. So yeah, he's still healing, but he'll be there and he'll be healing and healing, and healing. But I was saying earlier, Johnny Walker's in the best shape of his life. I think he's the fact that he lost weight is a problem, because when he took a couple bad bumps, all of a sudden you don't have the padding that you used to have, and then you break those ribs. So hopefully he'll be back and better than ever. I know he will be. He's a warrior, But yeah, he doesn't have a match Saturday. He'll be doing live commentary, and I'm sure he'll he's dying to get somebody to beat up Andy English, who'll be there and will be wrestling, and maybe Andy is gonna take on that opponent I have on deck for Santos. Who knows?
Okay.
I don't want to announce anything yet, just in case. Yeah.
Once Breakout kind of.
It's such a weird thing to do, like a Friday, Saturday. Like we did a Friday, Saturday. We did a Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the anniversary. We have a bunch of Friday, Saturdays now, which is cool, but it's a lot of work, And the world is coming. The world is coming back. Like the construction business is like flying back. Like it's a lot of stuff to do, But it's good. It's good because staying busy is good. I also have a 14-month-old baby who needs a lot of good attention. I prefer to give her attention. But that being said, these Friday, Saturdays are awesome. But it wreaks havoc on the booking too, because who knows what happens Friday to change Saturday.
That is one thing though, when if somebody were to hear about CCW on this show or someplace else, they're like, oh, let me go check out their website and see what show they have this month. And it's like, oh, they have like 6 shows this month. How many do they have this week is the question.
Exactly. Well, we have another situation, like, so we have Batch of the Brew every first Saturday, and we have another bar, another brewery, not really a brewery, but just like a large venue club place that has offered us the same type of situation. And it's just like thinking, man, it's a lot of shows. Yeah. It's like, and then but I mean, it's the, one of the things about CCW is you come to CCW, let's say you want to train to be a professional wrestler. Like, sure, you're going to train to be a professional wrestler, but you're also going to work a lot. You want to have 4, 5, 6 matches in front of large audiences a month. You come to CCW. So it's kind of like it's a good thing. But we have so many guys coming down, so many, like, you have Matthew Justice, Sebastian Cage, Casey Navarro, that it's like these guys are all coming down. Of Christy Janes are all coming down at least monthly, or bi-monthly. So those spots are limited. So we need that. We need those shows to work out some of our younger guys too. But a guy like Nick Turner, he doesn't wrestle like a student wrestler. You know what I mean? It's not like you don't watch his match and say that's a student wrestler show. So we try to keep our show quality, up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then even Breakout was supposed to be, hey, this is our monthly student showcase. And I had to take student showcase off there because there's a Hedy Karoui, fighter, is going to be wrestling on the show. Santos and Alex, they're not students, can teach me. They're teaching me, so, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, you mentioned Matthew Justice, and he's been at a bunch of your shows in the last few months, and there was a big spread an article on him in Orange Crush. Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Orange? I don't know.
I don't even know. He he deserves it. Dude, he is like legit. You know, like when you talk to a guy and they're just like whatever. That guy is legit. He is a legit professional wrestler. Me and him like seem to have the same. Like we like the same wrestlers. You know, Sabu, RVD, Taz, Bill Alfonso. Like all the stuff that we like is the same. And he's just perfect to have around. And he's huge, and you know, we were drinking in Nashville, and he turned to me and he's like, you know, like I'll tell you, like I haven't felt such a fun time in this crowd, like with a crowd like this and whatever because of the COVID. And he started talking about his time at FCW developmental and all this stuff, and I was just like, what, really? Like I didn't even know. And then he was, you know. The WWE wanted him, and all wrestling interested in him, and he's more interested in doing his own thing. He wants to, it's more important for him as an artist to be a professional wrestler that gets to do fun and interesting things than it is to work on national television. So that's a guy that I want around as much as humanly possible. Yeah,
people can go back and watch that Nashville match on Alive Wrestling.
It was wild.
Long ago. Yep.
That was one of those matches like definitely gets off the rails. But it's a thing where it's just like you're kind of like, oh, I got to tell you something hilarious. I've never told anybody this before. So I didn't watch that match live.
Okay.
So I had somebody call me and say that there was a child. There was a guy with dreads who had kidnapped his own child, like from his ex-wife or something. And he had a gun, and that he was in our warehouse.
Oh, God.
And that like 20 police officers are on their way. Well, no. First someone says like, hey, there's 20 police officers on the way to your warehouse. And I said, I cleared the show with the city. The city knows I'm having the show. The fire department know we're having the show inside. And the Chamber of Commerce helped facilitate the show. So I'm telling them like, we're allowed to have this wrestling show. People have masks on, whatever. They're like, no. There's a guy who kidnapped a baby and he's in your warehouse and he has a gun. And so I like, you know, like the whole thing, like everything went like black for a second. Right.
Yep.
So I'm just like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me in professional wrestling. So I grabbed Vic Arson and I grabbed two other wrestlers and I run in and I'm like, I'm gonna have to stop the show. And then I'm thinking, if I stop the show, the guy might have his gun, right?
Yep.
This is a crazy story, I know, right? So I thank the lady, I hang up the phone or whatever, and then one of the employees from Helios calls me. And she's like, I got a call that there's a guy, and I said, I'm looking for the guy. I said, I'm going to call off the show. So I walk over to start calling off the show, and by the way, I'm searching for a guy with dreadlocks and with a 1-year-old baby, right? And I'm like, how could this guy just get in our warehouse, right? How can they get in this venue? Like, there are people. I'm like, I'm starting to think like, and there's no one with dreads there. So I'm like, well, maybe he's in the yard or whatever. Waiting for the police to show up, and I'm trying to get to Dan to be like, Dan, we're gonna call off the show for a second. We're gonna announce this happened, and we're just gonna move on with our lives. This is a horrible thing, and I want to find this kid, right? So then my employee goes, wait, I'm hearing on the police scanner, it's going to wholesale granite on this one street. And I'm like, well, that's our competitor. That's not us. That's like 3 miles away. So people assumed because, there's a granite warehouse that he ran to an empty warehouse and the police had surrounded the warehouse and they ended without any violence or anything like that. But this was during the Justice and
oh my gosh.
So I'm like, how do I call this off when these guys are literally fighting in the audience? And then if I start to call this off, the fans are going to think it's a work. Yeah. It was like my heart was like stopping. And then it was a feeling of instant relief that like there was no one with a gun in the warehouse. I don't have to call the show off. This would have been like a horrible situation that would have made national news. And then there was also that feeling of, whoa, I hope the kid is okay. He's 3 miles away. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. So I didn't see the match until later. And then, of course, the match was like complete mayhem and whatnot. And people were like, oh, they threw the guardrails and the chair. And people came to me and I said, I don't care at all. I'm just happy as hell. There was no kidnapped child in here. Like,
no kidding.
Like I was waiting to like tackle a guy and fight a gun away from him. You know what I mean? One of those situations where it's like, well, maybe it's better if we just sneak up on him. Yeah. You know, and the only person with dreads in the place was Jake St. Patrick, and I'm pretty sure he had never kidnapped anybody. Like I'm like, hey, Jake. You know, it was crazy, Ryan. I never told anyone that story yet, but that was how crazy the Nashville show was.
By the way, so Panther Rodriguez is watching the show.
Who's he wrestling on the 23rd? Is that what he's going to ask?
I don't know. So I'm just going to let him know. Ask your question in the chat here, and we'll see if Nelio will
tell
answer.
Me, Panther.
But God, that's a crazy story. And you're going back to Nashville this month.
Yeah, and we have great security, so you don't ever have to worry about that. We would never have let a guy in with a child, no ticket, and a gun. Obviously,
I mean, I would never be in this situation. But if I was running from the police, do you think you'd go to a wrestling show?
Yes, that sounds like a movie, right? You know, well, it made sense. He found like a big warehouse to try to hide out in. But I mean, if he was going to try to hide out in my warehouse, it would have been a little bit of a surprise because there was 330 people in it watching a wrestling show. I wouldn't go there, you know. But it was strange, you know. But yeah, back May 15th, we have Bram versus whoever the CCW heavyweight champion is at that time. Could be Agony, or could be Chacha Charlie, could be Alex Ocean. Could be Santos. Yeah, it could be Santos.
Larry Lane.
Or Larry Lane. No, I think Larry's title shot will probably happen. Oh, maybe it'll happen on Cinco de Mayo, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. That being said, Bram, Thomas Latimer, who's doing amazing things in the NWA, he wants the CCW heavyweight championship, so he will get his title shot. We have Christy Janes will be wrestling. This is I'm breaking this right here on minutes to bell time. Christy Janes will be wrestling Hollywood Haley J OVW Women's Champion for the OVW Women's title at Coastal Championship Wrestling Lucha Mania 2. You have Super Crazy, who has an awesome seminar early in the day. He will be wrestling. So you already have Super Crazy. You have Christy Janes. You have Hollywood Haley J, OVW Women's Champion. You have Roma and Marina for the new Women's Championship will happen now at Lucha Mania. We took a look at the ladder match. We know that the twins, Lori and Lisa, they played a part in the end of the ladder match. So, you know, deserves her title shot. Roma is in a unique situation because if she does not win, she will most likely go back to Chile for a time. Oh, no. If she does win, she will stay. So it's kind of like this weird position that, you know, she deserves a title shot. When was it going to happen? We knew it was going to happen. When was it going to happen? So that was on Lucha Mania 2. So that show was already stacked. We're going to have Beastman there. We're going to have Vince Steele there. You're going to have Ariel Levy and Vinicius will be there. It's going to be awesome. That show is going to be awesome. So you're going to have a card basically fleshed out in the next week or so. But for the most part, now that I'm talking, that's the card. You're going to have a couple debuts. You're going to have Bo Sawyer, who was handpicked by Brian Cage on the last Nashville seminar for the last show. The guy is awesome. He looks like Lars Sullivan. I don't know if he likes to hear that, but he's built, he's big, and he's mentally, I think, a little stronger. Possibly, I don't know. But Bo Sawyer will have his debut against an opponent, and he is awesome. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Christy Janes and Hollywood Haley J. I'm excited for the OVW Women's Championship to be defended on a CCW show. What does that even mean? You know, it's crazy. And obviously super crazy.
Yeah. So Panther getting back to us here. You
got jokes.
He wants to compliment The Office.
Thank you, Panther. And we can't wait to Exactly. No, we can't wait for Friday. Panther Rodriguez will be in the building. He's got a pretty big, badass opponent, and of course, Panther is a veteran. He's done a lot of stuff in wrestling, so we're excited to have him as a part of CCW.
So I guess the show that we've sort of talked about here and there, but there's a bunch of matches we haven't talked about, is Bash at the Brew, May 1st.
Yeah, Bash at the Brew, May 1st. It's like a super show. I don't know what it is like. What it is about that weekend, but it's a super show. It's going to be awesome. You have the South American Alliance, Ariel Levy and Benicius with Bill Alfonso taking on the amazing Cha-Cha Charlie and Vince Steele, the Cha-Cha Juggernauts. This was a match that Bill Alfonso was refusing to sign the rematch for this, and he was only able to sign if this was the last opportunity for the Cha-Cha Juggernauts against the South American Alliance. So this is the last tag team title opportunity. The Cha-Cha Juggernauts agreed to it because they're very confident that they're going to win the belts on May 1st. But that was the only way that Bill Alfonso was able to sign that contract. So that is the stipulation. If the Cha-Cha Juggernauts do not win the title on May 1st, of course, by through their, if the South themselves DQ or some BS like that, that doesn't count into the stipulation. So this will be the last match as Bill Alfonso, American Alliance play fair, which never happens anyway. So who knows what's going to happen on May 1st? That's going to be probably the main event. Might not be the main event because you also have Alex Ocean versus Will Austin, no disqualification. You saw that match 2 months ago at Bash of the Brew, and it was double count out, and the crowd was pissed. It was the ref turned heel there because we wanted to give him some more time, and it's like, just let him go, let him. Like, what was this? Like, finally, the referees are counting the 10 counts? Like, what is that? So we're like, let him wrestle, dude. So this will be no disqualification, which I think favors Alex Ocean. You have the return of the Guadalupe brothers. The Guadalupe brothers want the CCW Tag Team Championships. They want it bad. They're former CCW Tag Team Champions. Stefan Guadalupe is a former CCW Heavyweight Champion. So they are great wrestlers, big wrestlers. And they've seen what's been happening in CCW, and so they want to throw their hat in the ring. They get a very difficult opponent on their return because you've seen them on AEW Dark. Jake St. Patrick has been on a huge win streak in Coastal Championship Wrestling, and now he's bringing Sage Scott. So you have Sage Scott and Jake St. Patrick, the Midnight Tribe versus the Guadalupe brothers. That's a main event anywhere in the world, and we're talking about it third in terms of this May 1st show. So that's how awesome this show is. You're also going to have Hector Perfecto, and he's going to be wrestling Allen, S2S, I believe. So you have Hector Perfecto coming in, and that's a huge match in terms of who gets Chris Farrow in the near future for that Cruiserweight Championship. And Hector Perfecto, look, he has a gag order, so he can't say what he did at American Ninja Warrior, but I mean, I know Hector, and his body he's got such amazing body control. I can't imagine him not at least winning or being in like the top 3 or 4. I have no idea, but if you look at the guy's body control, like if you could see what he does between the ring and inside the ropes, I mean, I could see him just flying through that American Ninja Warrior. And you got on May 30th, I believe, May 31st on NBC. And I'll be glued to my television too. He hasn't told a soul how he did. I don't think he's allowed to, but he hasn't told a soul. Legit, that's a shoot.
Marina Tucker also has a match.
Yes, Yade. Yade is doing great things in Puerto Rico. She's a wonderful wrestler. She is strong, so she has a size advantage over Marina Tucker, and that's going to be something that I don't know if Marina knows Yade's style as well as she does Roma. Like, she knows Roma so well, and she knows Chrissy Jane so well. She was able to study a lot, but I don't know if she has that same opportunity for Yade's. But we're very, very excited to have Yade here. She's made appearances in WWC. She's worked all over Puerto Rico, and I think this might be one of her first times wrestling in the United States. But she's wonderful. She's beautiful, and we're happy to have her in the CCW Women's Division. Also, June 5th, Bash at the Brew 6. We have just made a deal to sign Lila Gray. If you've seen her on All Elite Wrestling, Elevation, Mission Pro Wrestling, SWE Fury, she's been all over the place. And now hopefully she's going to be a mainstay here in Coastal Championship Wrestling. Have not signed a match yet. I don't know if Marina wants the smoke, if she's still the women's champion on June 5th or whatever the deal is. But Lila will make her CCW debut on June 5th. Bash at the Brew 5.
Jose.
You might see her before. You might see her run in and beat somebody up. I don't know.
That's true. Jose Lucinella chiming in.
Man, my partner, my partner from Original Championship Wrestling. He's my one of my closest friends in professional wrestling and one of the best guys with a great family. You guys got to check out Original Championship Wrestling, May 31st in Lakeland, Florida. Vinicius will be wrestling Joe Wokeley, British wrestler. And I think that should be a match everyone should want to see that show. Also, you have Vertigo, who's their heavyweight champion. Has not made an appearance for CCW yet, but he's just a great guy in general. And would like to get him down actually for some training with some of the students and whatnot. But obviously, Jose Lucinella is also the head referee for Coastal Championship Wrestling. One of the best guys to have in the ring with you because he's so good at when you forget a spot or something. He's got a good memory and he's good to lead you where you need to go, and if you need a minute, he'll make sure everyone in the ring knows you need a minute. So it was funny. There was a moment where Vinicius was knocked out by Vince Steele a couple months ago, and very quick thinking by the head referee there, to make sure that he was not dead. So I appreciate that. Yeah. The health of our wrestlers is incredibly important.
Absolutely. So I think I asked you back when we very first talked about the sort of the health of wrestling in the COVID era, and I just kind of want to get your thoughts now, a few months later. What do you think about the market at this time in terms of bouncing back? Is it, it's
bouncing back too much. It's going to be that boomerang. Everyone's going to run shows and then realize, how difficult it is and boomerang right back. But it's good in the meantime because everybody's booked, I know I'm getting requests, different booking requests like crazy. And it's funny. It's like, it's coming back incredibly quick, and it's a good thing because everybody's getting, I think, a lot of people are getting vaccinated. I'm already vaccinated, speaking to a lot of different people in wrestling, they're vaccinated. So it's like a weird feeling like things are actually going to come back. Like, how long are we going to be forced to wear a mask or whatever? I know dealing with the city in Nashville, a breeze now for this May 15th show, dealing with the venues in South Florida, a breeze. Mid-Florida Event Center is everything is much better feeling about everything. So it's going to come back very quickly and very strongly. And it's a good thing, that I feel CCW's took like 4 or 5 giant steps forward during the pandemic. So hopefully that we can just shoot right through all of these as things really do return. We're in such a great position with a great fan base who are ready to buy tickets and merch and signed posters and all that fun stuff. So we're excited for it to come back. But that being said, it's too much too soon. You have you have so many people who've just been dying to run wrestling shows, especially in Illinois and Ohio and Pennsylvania and whatnot. I'm going to a show in 10 days from now. But it's their first show back, so it's one of those things like you're going to have a huge market of professional wrestling and then it's going to swing back like a rubber band which is normal, which is like all markets. Right. And then we're going to get back to hopefully where we were or better than where we were. I think you have a lot of companies that are now positioned completely different in terms of weekly media. So they're able to show their weekly television show, live wrestling or whatnot, and they're working on their YouTube and their media imprint. And here's going to be the key: is that now that they can run shows all the time, do they continue to work as hard on the media aspect? Do they do it? It's so important. So the companies that do that still are going to put the actual work in are going to excel, and the ones that take a step back because they're running more are not going to excel. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But South Florida I have on lock. And we're going to be running Nashville every couple months. And then I have a venue in Chicago. As soon as things are a little bit up, I don't want to announce it, but I would say September 25th is the target date to run at a pretty big venue. As long as they can let us put 700-800 people in the venue, I'll run it on September 25th. And I already have some pretty big names lined up ready for that date, just in case. I don't want to officially announce anything, but wrestling town like Chicago is something that would be important to me. It's my hometown as well. But Chicago, Nashville,
heck of a market there.
All through the state. Yeah. Oh, I mean, Lucha Libre, brother. It's like there's a lot of good things. And then on the Florida side, we have some new things opening up for us here too. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see.
All right. Well, hold your thoughts here. I'm gonna tell people about some of the stuff that's going around the my network and stuff like that, and we'll come back and do a final push here.
Yes.
All right. So check out the Primetime Rundown each and every Friday at 6 p.m. Join Joey Jarzenka, Ian Schreier, and Rob DeLuca as they bring you through the world of sports. The show kicks off at 6 p.m. on the Eastern Observer. And then this week, the Essential Wrestling Podcast has their 50th episode tomorrow night. So join myself and Al Carl, John DeConnie, John Smith, Gary Mahaffey, who you see on this show periodically for another week of updates and highlights in the world of wrestling. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays. And then this show, the Daily Wrestling News Show, is here every day, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Here's where you can get great interviews with people like Nelio, plus we bring you the news and everything that's going on. And I imagine tomorrow we'll probably be talking a lot about those releases that Nelio mentioned at the top.
I mean, Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, that's crazy, and Samoa Joe. But I think Samoa Joe wants to leave.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine them saying like, okay, we have a guy like Samoa Joe, let's just let him go.
Right. I think he's like other people, right? it's like
there's no way Samoa Joe, but Billy Kay and Peyton Royce will have a great professional wrestling career, I think. And then who else? Kalisto, man, Samurai Del Sol, man. He's a great wrestler too. It's a lot of wrestlers they have there, and I know that they're signing new wrestlers,
yes.
And so you do have to have that movement, otherwise you do stagnate. But I mean, if it's an issue of money, I mean, they have plenty of money. It's just I think an issue of like you need to.
I think the way I look at it is that every organization, wrestling or not, always looks to when you're corporate level or whatever, always looks to cut their bottom 10 every year. Their bottom 10% and replace with either younger talent with good upside or whatever. The funny thing is when we look at wrestling is we say, well, we as the outsiders always look at it and say, well, why were they in the bottom 10%? What opportunity did they not have, or did you take from them, or why just split that tag team up when they were great? Talking about Tucker, talking about Iconics.
Talking about the Iconics. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. So it is very tough to kind of like be at this side of the equation looking in at it, but a lot of talent just hit the market, I think is the important thing. So,
and they all live in Orlando for now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all there living in Orlando. So that's good for Florida wrestling. It could be. I mean, I can't really think. I mean, I think I can't see Samoa Joe wrestling independence.
Sure.
A guy like Kalisto is a perfect guy for Coastal Championship Wrestling. Mickey James is a perfect girl for Coastal Championship Wrestling or the NWA and other places. But then if you look at Peyton Royce and Billy, it's like that. I think that's a pretty simple all elite wrestling signing right there. Is you have a women's tag team coming in, and then who else? Yeah, or maybe
Impact, right? They have
or Impact, or Tucker. But those like all elite wrestling is kind of full too. I'm hearing now like that they're going back on the road, that they're securing certain deals for certain guys, and they're telling other guys it's
probably over.
The deals are the deal. You coming in Jacksonville every couple of weeks or whatever. It's not going to be the same anymore. So it's kind of a weird. You saw what happened with Evilise. There's kind of a weird thing going on. I mean, who knows? Maybe they sign everybody, but we're going to see some weird. Wrestling's going to. It was weird when wrestling went to. And my dogs feel very, very much about this as well.
I guess so.
They're very upset when I talk about this. But when wrestling moved to like the Performance Center and Daily's Place, there was a huge change in wrestling. And so now you have to kind of change back. But like I don't know what's going to happen. If it comes down to the money, they would stay. Like if it comes down to actual money, both companies would just stay and do what they're doing because I think they're making more money. I think like when it comes to house shows or it comes to a Raw on the road, it's not as important as it used to be because the television rights fees are running the show, not the merch, not the ticket sales, None of that stuff. All that is almost inconsequential at this point. But I know All Elite Wrestling for sure is going to be on the road, and WWE is talking about being on the road, at least for Raw and SmackDown. So who knows? This is another change, and every time a business changes, there's an opportunity for someone. When the pandemic hit, we took it as an opportunity for Coastal Championship Wrestling to get to the next level, and now there'll be an opportunity for wrestlers who got cut or going to jump on or whatever to get to the next level. And look, they're building NXT Evolve. There's handfuls of wrestlers that I know who've gotten emails of interest from the WWE. So it's not like they cut 10 guys and that means that they're not going to hire 20 guys for NXT Evolve. It just means that Samoa Joe was not the guy to be on NXT Evolve or whatever, or Tucker or whatever, So you have to kind of fill the spot that they need. They needed a right tackle, or they needed a tight end, or they needed a receiver, or they needed a third string quarterback. They didn't need Samoa Joe, who's a first string quarterback or a running back, on a good team,
Man, I was so excited though when they moved him off commentary. I'm like, okay, we're gonna get Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns. That's what I thought we were gonna get.
Well, that's what's weird is that, like, particularly with Samoa Joe, like there's a ton of matches that it was just like that match never happened. I don't think he ever had anything going on with Daniel Bryan. There's nothing with Roman Reigns. Or there was with Roman Reigns, he lost, but at least like there was these the
face Roman Reigns though.
Yeah. Like the what is he called now? Head of the table. Now that you have that going on, you need a Samoa. You would think you would need a Samoa Joe. If you have a Samoa Joe on your roster, you'd use the hell out of him. But something not there, I guess. And we hear that, like, and there's some truth to that too. Like I was thinking about it too. Like there are certain wrestlers that are awesome wrestlers, but it's just like one of those things like where we just don't want to deal with them in Coastal Championship Wrestling. Like, we don't want to deal with the issues or the drama or whatever. So it's like, and there's some wrestlers who are awesome who we will deal with it. So it's like one of those things, like maybe, we don't know, maybe there's something that there's somebody or there's something like that makes that Samoa Joe's not happy about or whatever. I mean, I don't want to speculate. I hear he's an awesome guy, but you just never know.
Yeah. Well, I guess final pitch here for all the shows.
April 23rd, Breakout at the CCW Arena, Breakout number 1. Be there for the first time, for the first one. You have Ocean and Santos. You have Larry Lane and Cha-Cha Charlie in what may be Larry Lane's last match. You do need to go and pre-buy your tickets because we just had a couple large groups buy tickets. We are going to cap it at 100. Just because we should cap it at 100, so there will only be 100 tickets sold, and we're coming on to that.
Every seat feels like front row, so you're
exactly. Every seat feels like front row, so just go, and it's a cheaper ticket because we didn't expect to have all these international stars wrestling on the show. Right. So it's a cheaper ticket than normal, and obviously you have the 24th. You have Hedi versus King Mo. This is going to be awesome, but on top of that, you have the 3-way. So the Treasure Coast tickets are selling like crazy on that. Luckily, we have a larger capacity, so go in, buy those tickets as much as possible. Then we have a bash at the Brew May 1st. We did a special at the last bash, so we did sell a ton of tickets of returning people. We do have a bunch of tickets already sold, but again, we have more capacity at that venue, so go and get those tickets. I believe front row is sold out on May 1st, and I believe on the 24th, front row is also sold out, but there's still general admission and meet and greets available on the 24th. And then Cinco de Mayhem, go to the ccwrestlingfl.com. There's still tickets for that. We do have the international superstar, the insane luchador, super crazy on Cinco de Mayo. Awesome. And there's just going to be a lot of beer and wine and a festive environment. So you have like 10 coworkers, 5 coworkers, go after work, drink at a high-end theater. It's amazing place to watch a show, and that is on Cinco de Mayo. It's a Wednesday, so you can skip whatever the Blood and Guts is. You can watch it on your DVR. There it is, and then you can watch the best wrestling in South Florida, in Nashville, Lucha Mania 5/15. That match, that show is going to be awesome. It's still coming together. Tons of tickets are already sold, and then I'll announce it right now. So we have 6/19. We have June 19th. At Fort Lauderdale, Summer Glory with Brian Cage. He'll be wrestling Facade, which is an amazing match. You're going to see a lot of amazing stuff. And then I'll announce it right now. We're coming July 10th to the Mid-Florida Event Center on the Treasure Coast. We'll have the Headbangers on that show, as well as a couple people. And then August 21st, Brian Cage makes his Treasure Coast debut in Coastal Championship Wrestling in the Mid-Florida Event Center. So that's 7/10, 8/21. I have a bunch more shows that I'll be announcing over the next couple of weeks, but definitely keep an eye on that. Definitely be there for these upcoming week of shows. Breakout's going to be awesome. I think that's going to be one of those shows where people are going to look back on because it was the first one, like something special about the first time, so the first breakout show, and then we go from there.
Let's see. One more thing.
Oh, and live wrestling Tuesday, 7 p.m. and you're going to see Ariel Levy versus Super Crazy. That match is awesome. And then you're also going to see the 3-way with Agony, Beastman, and Vince Steele. Beastman ate Vince Steele's boots. And because of Vince Steele's body, Vince he has to get custom made boots. He's got huge ankles, huge calf. So Vince is pissed about that. So watch that match. Vince and Beastman are both going to be in Nashville. Maybe that's the match to make. I think that might be where we go next for them. But that match is going to be awesome. But watch it on Tuesday, and then you're going to see an awesome promo from Santos and Alex Ocean. I might drop that early. You're going to see stuff with Agony, and you're going to see Cha-Cha and Larry. On Tuesday is going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. Every show is going to be a great show. On the Live Wrestling 32, you might see Bash at the Brew footage from last month, or Venetius and Sandman and Santos and Jackal from the last one. We'll see. Let's see.
Maybe Vince Steele got some.
Yes, happy birthday from Vince Steele. I love you, Vince. Vince is a guy who's been wrestling 20 years. You don't realize it, because he's still a young guy. And he's been a guy who's helped CCW so much. He's got a home at CCW forever, whatever he wants to do. We love you, Vince.
Absolutely. And happy birthday. And I hope
happy birthday. Yeah, man. Well, he's still a young guy. I think he turns 36. So young. Wrestling since he was 16. And, he's wrestled guys like Damian Priest. He's wrestled so many big names now. And he deserves to be in that conversation. It's a shame. He's that type of guy you would think Impact Wrestling would have signed 10 years ago, but things, life gets in the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
We love you, Vince.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was a great show.
Thank you, Ryan. It was awesome. I'll be back soon. I'd love to go on and talk just regular wrestling news. We don't have to always talk CCW.
Let's do it. Anytime.
We're multifaceted over here. And I'd like to have you on Wrestling Rewind Radio. This guy Ted, he does a show, and I'm always on it as a guest host or whatever on the panel. I'd love to talk about Minutes of Bell Time and also talk about wrestling. We'll have you on ASAP.
100%. I'm here and ready.
All right, hopefully I'll see you Friday.
Absolutely, Friday and Saturday. I'll be there both
yes.
nights. So,
thank you.
All right, guys. For Nelio, I'm Ryan. We'll catch you tomorrow.